It's time for another Flashpoint Q&A. I'm MonteCristo, joined by Thorin. And oops, Q&A. Wow, we're going to have some echo because I left the audio on the stream. But there we go. So we're going to start here. If you guys have questions, please ask them in Twitch chat. We're going to have a lot of guests tonight, starting with Jerry from forZe and Keto from Big. So thank you for joining us. Are you guys excited to start playing in Flashpoint next week?
Yeah, of course. I'm really happy to play it. Because we also missed last season because of Corona and other reasons. Yeah, I'm really happy we play it this season.
It helps that we have $1 million prize pool compared to all of the other prize pools that you've been winning, right?
Yeah, of course. This is the biggest event I will play, and we will do our best to take the 500k to our team.
Yeah, same for forZe. I mean, we just qualified through the hard way, and I'm pretty excited to play in this kind of tournament. I mean, we don't have much big tournaments in our pool, and this is going to be really exciting for us.
So were you surprised that it was you and Virtus Pro that ended up qualifying through the closed qualifier? Because I didn't expect to have two kind of Russian-based teams coming in through the closed qualifier.
Yeah, it's kind of usual when the closed qualifiers are won by the two Russian squads. And yeah, that was a kind of surprise for me because we were struggling a lot in the last previous games and tournaments. But in that Flashpoint closed qualifier, we were really showing up. And I'm pretty sure we can try to repeat that in the main tournament.
All right, so let's get a question for you, Keto, first. Do you have any thoughts regarding Sprout looking to go full German again? And if so, how do you think that would affect them?
I know that the organization always wants to be a full German, wants to have 5 players from Germany. So it might be true what DK reported there, but I don't know exactly if this will happen or when it will happen. But I think it will be the best for the team and also for the organization if they go this way again.
I've got a question along those lines, Keto. Let's keep that topic going because people don't know about your career, and particularly Sirison. You guys were literally held back, even by the German scene, like big. Legir on one of my other podcasts even admitted that they were probably short-sighted in thinking there were no other German talents. And they basically admit now that, now they look back and they think, why did we waste all that time with Smooya when we could have had, Sirison, basically? You guys were just there in alternate attacks, right? So has there been a sense in the German scene that there was, basically Tabson and then maybe Nex in big and then everyone else is trash and you have to go abroad to get good players or something? What's the thinking?
Yeah, I think they had the wrong how do I say it, opinion about Surzan. They didn't know he was that good, and I think they also wanted to wait for him to show up on LAN. I think he showed on many LANs how good he is. And yeah, and I think Toby was a big part that they considered us. He had us in scout, he coached us, and yeah, I think he was one of the big reasons they took us in the end. But now they're really happy, especially Surzan, what he's putting up in game.
Sure.
It's insane.
So on the other topic of some of these up-and-coming teams, we have a question for you, Jerry. What are some of the more unknown CIS players or teams that are better than most people think? Especially because I feel like you guys have been getting a lot of competition this year because of the pandemic, because there's been a lot, all of the tournaments have kind of fractured into NA, EU, and CIS. So it feels like now you guys get to compete in IEM New York CIS and all of these other tournaments that maybe you wouldn't have had access to before. Has this been helping the scene?
If we talk about the tournaments, we switched on and the most, I think, underrated and underdog team, it was a Gambit for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have a really good structure of the game. I mean, they have a lot of scripts. They have a lot of good flashes and utilities that the most of the top team use good. And if we talk about underdogs, I think, in my opinion, this should be a Gambit for sure. Yes, they're in the top 30 for some time, but still, there is a big potential in these guys. I mean, they're always trying to be better. I can see that from their demos. I mean, I watch them. I like to watch them. It's, sometimes they remind me of Australis. I mean, their utility usage and their communication in some crucial moments are really good. And me, as the AGL of the forZe team, I just want to steal some piece of that cake from them sometimes. And if we talk about the a lot of tournaments. I mean, we split it for 3 regions in Asia and Australia and US and Europe, and there were really a lot of online maps. There were let me count it, 2,050 maps for maybe a half year or a year for us. And if we talk about IM New York, yeah, we finished the sixth or seventh place, but we tried. We beat Navi, but we had a lot of shit trash talking about it, about this matchup, because the Perfecto had the COVID, and actually we almost managed to beat the Virtus Pro, but in the end we still failed that, and this can be, you know, I mean, when you not succeed in this kind of firmer events, you are not able to keep this roster together. I mean, we had a lot of reasons to keep it, but in this moment, I think the Flashpoint is the key, key point here. I mean, we have to step up and try to do our best in this tournament, so we can show everyone that we are still capable to fight some, good shots and some good wins.
If people don't know Gambit, because obviously people might only remember the old Gambit with Zeus and the people who won the major and stuff. Gambit basically was the team called Gambit Youngsters, which was like a bunch of young, like an academy squad, and they were just too good to be an academy squad, Monty. So what they did is they brought back one old player who wasn't even old, he was fairly young when he won the major, Hobbit, who was like one of the best players then. They just put him and just made it the real Gambit squad basically. So it's actually like a really kind of like cool story. Like it shows there was talent in the region that you can just promote them already.
Yeah, I mean, they added Hobbit because of, they had Supra, and he was stepping up a real hot. I mean, he had 1.25, average rating from the last 20 games he played for the Gambit youngsters, and they replaced him for Hobbit. That's a big question. I mean, why you do that if you have such a great and talented player stepping up for a 1 month? That's pretty big, and that's pretty good for you as a team. And if we can see that he's playing entry fragging role, this is insane. But they still managed to change him, and the big question is why. And I heard some rumors about that they changed him because of the corona situation. I mean, Supra, he couldn't manage to go to the bootcamp in Russia, and that's why they changed him for Hobbit, because Hobbit was somewhere close, and the pandemic situation allows him to get into the Russia and get to that bootcamp. And also they wanted to get some experienced player that could call sometimes with the experience. I mean, when you got a tight game with 10-10 and you're playing the train for the T side, you need some good call to change the game. And that's why they took Hobbit. They wanted to get experienced player that won a major actually. So yeah, this is maybe a hard thing, but sometimes you pay attention to the experience instead of the young blood.
For both of you guys, what's the thing you guys are looking forward to the most once LAN is back? Are you looking forward to, first off, playing with no latency, or being on stage, or the schedule being not so crazy like it is now, or how much are you enjoying the online experience?
Okay, Kaito, you go first.
Yeah, thank you. Like I can't really say that we don't like to play online, because we won like a lot of tournaments, but I miss like the experience. Like I didn't experience big tournaments yet on LAN. Like I think my biggest LAN I played was ESL Pro League, but like only group stage in like studio event. So I'm looking forward to that, like experience big LANs, and yeah.
Is it frustrating to you because you guys actually did hit #1 in the rankings, but you couldn't do it on LAN, and obviously people don't take that quite as seriously? Do you think you would have proved it on LAN had we been there, or do you think the online play was helping you guys a bit?
I mean, we played 2 LANs this year before Corona, and we won both of them.
Fair.
So like it's, of course, it was smaller LANs, but like DreamHack Leipzig, for example, like the first LAN we played as a team together after like 5 weeks of practice or something. Like there were teams like HenryG, and they were back then also really good. So I guess we performed pretty well on LAN, and yeah, I don't really mind that it was online. At least we did that. Like not every team was rank 1 yet in the world, and we hope we get back to our level.
And what about me? I'm really excited to get the lands back because, you know, guys, that atmosphere you get on the land. I mean, you have to wake up, you have to wash your face. You need to go to the venue. You need to set up your devices, and this is atmosphere. I mean, you doing the job you like, and the atmosphere that you setting gear up, that you're training, that you are getting the set up all the devices, that you are watching the demos before the game, and even that you have all your teammates in front of you. That is insane. And if we talk about crowd, yeah, I played only one LAN in the crowd. That was last, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we had the final against Amangar. It's Virtus Pro now, almost all of them. And you know that when you're sitting on the stage and you see the crowd in front of you, that's really gives you a positive energy. And all of your teammates, they're charged up. They're charged up to get a win. They're trying to grab it. It's like their lives depends on it. I mean, in my case, only in my team, I don't know. Maybe the top teams are not doing that, but I think our mentality is similar to the Brazilians. I mean, if you watch the recent MIBR games, they were so cheering up even when they won in the last one round, or even if they won a map against Australis, and they were so cheering up like they won a game already.
I think Brazilian people
I
are
mean,
just like that.
yeah. So I
They get
miss it
hyped.
so much. Yeah.
There actually was, coincidentally, that's a very good segue, Jerry. There was a question in the chat about what you guys are thinking about this new MIBR lineup. And they debuted in Blast. They're currently boot camping in Serbia, so they're all over there together. And we've only seen a couple of best of threes, but taking a map off of Astralis is very impressive. Beating Furia is impressive. What were your initial takes on them? You think this is something that is sustainable for MIBR, or is it way too early to tell?
It's hard to tell actually because it's their first big tournament, and they have all the environment in front of them. I mean, they switched the continent to get to this tournament. They used the bootcamp to get together and to beat all those teams, and they actually won a map from Astralis, and it wasn't like a Dust 2 when there is a little factor of random. It was a nuke. It was a nuke against Astralis, and we all know that they're famous for their win streak on that map, and they're playing it's insanely good because nuke is all about rotations, and they're doing that insanely good. But if we see what MIBR does, they have a lot of really aggressive plays for D side. I mean, that last crucial round and the score 14-15 in the favor of MIBR when the Leo drunk is just go insane, had insane B hop on the silo, and then just he comes back to the heaven and see the back of the two guys, and it wasn't a random team. It was Astralis, and they didn't expect him. I mean, yes, they have some cards, they have some aces to show us, but in terms of the long game, I don't know, but they look really great now.
Yeah, I also think like it's a momentum right now. They played really good. Tabson also said that earlier today. But I think it's also like the hype and also the matchup against Furia. Like these matchups are always different. I know it myself when we play against Sprout. It's always feels different for both teams. Everything can happen. But yeah, we will see in the long term if the lineup works out. I really hope it for them because it looks like they have a lot of fun together. And yeah, but I think they made the best out of it. Like the organization, I guess, after Foreign left them, and yeah.
Thorin, I know you had some cold water to throw on the MIBR hype on Twitter after just these two best of threes. What was your initial impression?
Like, here's the thing. If I just watched, put it this way, if I took the nameplate off and I didn't know who the player was and I could just see their actions, it was a hype match. Like, yeah, it was pretty good. They looked actually way better than you'd expect. Because if people don't know, when this lineup was announced, I even think this is true. The real reason they made this lineup is because they wanted to kick some people and just make changes to the lineup. But because the other players also left, like in mutiny, essentially, they just had to essentially think about it last minute, just be like, right, is there any one Brazilian who can play it? That was sort of like the mentality. So that's why they got like a cheater, a guy who hasn't made it, people who are from agents. So they did, it's not like they were picking the cream of the talent. You know, there's way better players than this in Brazil. So in those circumstances, even by the way, them recruiting Kogu looked very cynical. It looked like, right, well, no one's going to care about these players. So who's the most legendary Brazilian who's of it? Oh, Kogu, get him, like, make him the coach. And so I even thought, like, is this fake? Like, is he just being told to do it? But apparently, right, at least from the way the matches are going, they are actually trying to play properly. It looks like he actually is running real practice, etc., etc. They were trying to play properly. So my angle is this, right? As an actual team, I don't know how good they will be. Like, that's very difficult circumstances to play in a tournament like this. It's probably unreasonable to expect the same performances, but they did show some potential. No, what I was pointing out was this. It's only been a couple of maps, right? And one factor that I think in CS, I can't believe people keep doing this after years. When you're the team that just made even one player change, you have the advantage because the other team has no idea from the demos how you will play. They don't know how you'll use that new player. If you have a whole new team entirely, Astralis, I can go watch their demo and find out how they play. I mean, in theory, they haven't had Zipic, so it's a little bit different. But like, there's that. It's not like beginner's luck. But being a newer team, if you handle it right in the early moments, can give you actually a slight advantage. Not every time, but it can make. It's why you often get crazy upsets with stand-ins, for example, like in the group stage of a tournament or something. So I think people were hyping it a little bit too much. Like, it's not like this team's as good as Furia. Like, let's be real. I know the results are like, yeah, they're good now, but like, if you had to put your money on who'd be better in 3 months, right now you'd say Furia, of course.
Well, also,
so you know, like, I think people just push that out. And the reason I was mad, just to finish this point, is because I've had to hear the same people on my screen, sometimes stood next to me on the screen, not on Flashpoint, thankfully, tell me that like MIBR are these wonderful players. Like, Fallen's still the best AWPer in IGL. Like, fucking Taco's sick. Like, first still amazing. Like, I'm told all of this. And then I'll go watch the games and their results are like some of the worst you've ever seen for the last year. Like, absolutely outrageous. So one thing I hate is pick which camp you're in. If you're the guy who's a star fucker and you just say anyone who was ever a champion, I'm going to say he's a champion till the end of time. I'm going to pretend he's as good. Then don't switch and go, oh, I love young players. It's like, you're part of why those young players can't get into these teams. Like that story I said earlier about Keto. Imagine if for years, right, everyone just said, oh, Nex is the absolute best German player. Like, you know, never remove him. Like, he'll pick it up next week. Like, he would never get a chance. He would never be able to play Counter-Strike right now. He'd be stuck in another level because the narrative would keep him trapped down, whereas it should be about how good you actually are in the server. One area that fans will never understand is I don't hate any of these legends, but I treat them the way that they play. So I don't care if, like, you could be Messi. If you're 50 years old and you're out there trying, and you're just getting tackled by everyone and you're a liability, I call you out. It doesn't matter that 25 years earlier you were the best. You have to be fair to these people because think about it, right? If we're not fair to the new generation, there can't be new legends. We'll just keep people like Freiburg exist propped up forever while the new person might be like Brolan and what was going to pretend he's Sjokz, does he know? So like, that's just the thing that triggered me about it. It's like in isolation, they did well though in those games. Certainly, it was legit.
To go back to the first point there, because you dovetailed pretty hard, but I do appreciate everything that you were saying. I also think it's important to mention that it does matter when your opponents have tape on you in order to, like, we have no idea the depth of this roster because there weren't demos to review. And also, you know, when we look at the Fury game too, they probably weren't preparing the most in advance for MIBR, right? You don't anticipate a team to come out and actually be able to defeat you, I think, if you're Fury in that situation. So there's also some potential, you know, overestimation, right? Or underestimation rather of the team in question. So I don't know. I think we need a lot more evidence, but you know where you can get that evidence, fans. You can see more MIBR games at Flashpoint starting next week. And we haven't done our group selection yet. I think we're going to do our group selection tomorrow night. That is the current plan that we're working on. It will not be live, just for you out there. But we will be undergoing that process. So with that in mind, I have a question for both of you guys. That's not part of the fans. If you could pick one team each to be in your group at Flashpoint, who would it be?
For any reason. Doesn't
For
have to
any
be
reason.
that it'd be easy or anything. Just whoever you'd like to play.
Oh, it's my turn now. I would actually like to pick MIBR because I really like to play against those NA teams. I mean, we had those matchups against Evil Geniuses in LAN, and we played against some, tier 3 teams. It was like a Riot Squad in the CMDL's finals, and I pretty like to play against them because they reminds me of our own CIS style. I mean, if we look at the Furia, I'm not talking about MIBR now, right? I'm just talking about Furia, and those guys, they are top of their region. But if I'm looking at the strategies they do and how often they work, I always see rush, frag, repeat. It's like a flashpoint, thing. I mean, they have a lot of their rushing strategies. I mean, if they play nuke, they're really good at nuke. I actually love how they play it, how they approach the outside control with the mollies. They do it perfectly. But when it comes to exchange, they just realize the map. They just understand when the enemies are, and they are just pushing really fast. So they get caught off guard. Some of them. I mean, I like this play style because um, if you play really fast, there is a more points to read the game against you. I mean, if the enemies against you don't check the close corners, they try to rush squeaky or they're trying to rush hot, you are using your first utilities like mollies and nades, and that's what I like in these NA teams. And so why I want to play against them IBR, they're on the hype now, and we need some energy to, we lost a lot of games recently, and this Flashpoint, as I mentioned before, is going to be a really big tournament for us. And I want this, this energy to fight against each other. Like, I really like the NA team's place, as I mentioned before, and the team that I want in my group is definitely going to be MIBR.
Well, you might have that opportunity to select them because certainly they're not going to be ranked very highly right now.
For sure.
And also, Flat Fury isn't in the tournament, so he doesn't have a choice. So it has to be MIBR.
It has to be MIBR.
Because half of that was really about Fury, but obviously they're not in the tournament. So
Yeah. Because at the top of the region, that's,
yeah, of course.
When you look at you look at the best.
Sure.
All right, Keto, I know you want to talk some mad shit on some other teams because you guys are coming in, at the top of the rankings. You guys will be able to very actively select your opponents. So which team would you like in your group?
Maybe forZe. Like, we want to see how they play without Coach Pack. And also...
There we go. Well done. Well done. Listen, this guy's German. He's fucking killing it right now. Keep going.
And also, we will make sure that we don't want practice against them. So they
There
can't
you go. Yeah, there's two. Keep going.
And in the final, I want to play against Fnatic.
Right, there you go.
Why
Give us a
Fnatic?
serious answer, banter, and then give us like analysis at the end. I like it.
Why Fnatic at the end? Why are they your dream opponent in the final?
I think it's always good matches. Like, it's always fun to play against them because of the playstyle and for us, and I think it will be also a great final to watch.
They also played a million times this year. Got a lot, like a lot of rivalry there.
We didn't play them so often. I think like 3 times maybe.
Okay.
4 times. Like, there were other teams we played like, I don't know, 8 times and even more, I guess.
Oh, Kaito, maybe you want to play Inferno. I mean, Big Clan is really known for that crouch back jump in the one map Inferno to get to the play of the major. So it's gonna be Inferno for sure.
I don't know how many years that is ago, but in that time I didn't play in that team.
Exactly. Listen, come on, get the bat. Yeah, the banter's got to be level. That was back when Keto was just trying to flame me on Twitter, but I didn't even know who he was, so no problem, mate.
I don't know if I did that, but
you definitely know. But keep going.
And I don't know. We will not use any bugs, and we wouldn't take our coach back if we use this like shit.
All right, we get the premise of it. We get the premise of it.
It's same for us. It's same for us. You got my word.
Yeah, it's not Jerry's fault, you know, everything that happened. He's but a humble player, you know. He doesn't have any power over the management. But yes, hilarious.
Love reputation. Yeah, that's it. That's the hard thing.
All right. So a question that was asked earlier, Jerry, as we come to our time ending with you guys.
Say that again. You lagged the sec there. We didn't hear it. Say it again, Monty.
Sorry. Yeah. Now that we're gonna get a couple more questions in. So Jerry, somebody was wondering if you had ever had any offers to IGL outside of the CIS region.
Actually, I had one offer, but it was all, only in an email, when someone email you, you can see the offer and you think like, okay, I should tell that to my management. And I told them that, and they said, bruh, you have a contract for the 1 year alone. You have to AGL this team and you have to bring it to the top. What are you talking about? So yeah, I had it once, but since I'm not a free agent and since I'm not streaming a lot and I don't have, much power in Twitter or Instagram, don't have, good people to know me. So not good offers was painting now. Not now, really. I need to get more experience in those kinds of, if we talk about AGLing, this is a really tough work. This is all to be at the background. You have to be at the background sometimes. Sometimes you have to be the star player when you AGL. You have to go first. You have to get your players comfortable, and that's all a really hard work. I mean, there is a lot of points. If you have a star player, you have to know that he's comfortable on map and in a position he's play on. So if we talk about the AGLing in some other country or rather than Russia, I need more experience. I need to play with the more players. I need to get more experience how they approach the game, how they feel comfortable, how to get team to the top. I mean, I had some tries, but because of some reasons, I won't say it's not working well now. But,
yeah. Well, we're happy to get you some more experience here in Flashpoint starting next week. There was a question earlier about last chance qualifiers. So the way these are working, everybody, is the top 2 teams in each of the groups. So we are running GSL groups. The top 2 teams will advance to our playoffs. That's 6 out of the 8 teams that will be in playoffs. The other 2 teams will be determined as follows. All of the third place teams will be ranked according to our tiebreaker methodology, which is, as you would expect, like, the map differential, like match differential, map differential, round differential kind of tiebreaker system. So they'll be ranked in the 7th, 8th, and 9th place. And then the top 4th place seed, according to that, will also be there. And the 7th place will play the 10th place, and the 8th place will play the 9th place. The winner of each of those matches will advance into the playoffs. So you're not eliminated at the end.
You have to really suck to get knocked out.
You have to be bottom 2.
Playoffs. Yeah,
you have to be bottom 2.
At this point, if you get knocked out at that point, you've lost 3 times. Like, just fuck off, take baseball. 3 strikes, you're out. Get out.
Yeah. So basically, we're not going to run another GSL group with those 4 teams. We're just going to let them play one best of 3. Yes. 7th place will play 10th place. 8th place will play 9th place. The winner of each of those best of 3s will advance. And whatever your seeding was will be. So if like 10th place makes it over 7th place, but then 8th place makes it, 10th place will be 8th seed.
Yes.
Yeah, etc. So you guys get the point.
Just imagine how hype that would be if the team that won one of those matches won the whole tournament.
Yep.
That'll be insane. That'll be like Inman and TI run. Like, that's insane. Yeah.
Really insane.
Yeah. So that we're going to conclude. So to be clear on our schedule, the last day before we take our week-long break before playoffs will be those 2 last chance matches, and then the 4 teams who are eliminated will go home, and we'll take a week off for the break, and then we'll start an 8-team double elimination playoff bracket. Blah, I can't talk tonight. So that's very exciting. Anyway, we got to change guests. Thank you, Keto and Jerry, for coming on. We will be back in just a couple of seconds, guys, with JW and Nifty. We're back now for our second suite of guests. This time we are joined by Nifty once again, JW for the first time. So Nifty, where the fuck are you right now? Because I don't even know.
I'm in London.
Okay.
You talk about how shitty the hotel room is in the background. It's super small, like bad curtains, you know.
Thorn and I are also trapped in quarantine in the UK, unable to go
We're better
outside.
than your room, though, mate. We're like a proper apartment. We've got good internet. You probably fucked, mate.
It's like a weird like hotel apartment mix.
Oh, it's kind of similar to ours then. It's like basically
Yeah.
we're like a businessman who's going somewhere for a month would be put, right?
Because right over here on this, I mean, I have a little like futon like couch thing that you got going on as well.
Oh,
but
okay.
Nice.
You probably got a little bit more space than I do. I mean, it's still kind of small, but I mean, I don't mind it. I don't need much, you know. Like I've really just been spending a lot of time at this table, so.
Fair enough. Using his fucking like enormous Mediterranean villa there. You can see the background, like, it's big doors that open to the sea.
I don't want to
goes
open
out.
that curtain or else you'll be jealous. So.
Okay.
All right. So you're here in their same quarantine situation for Flashpoint. I'm just going to ask this first because you haven't really had a chance to play with your teammates, have you?
Oh, no.
On low ping?
I have. Well, I've been here now like a month exactly, pretty
Oh,
much.
shit. I didn't even know you were there that long. Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse
yeah.
me. So you guys have been hard at work then?
Yeah, as soon as I could get out here is when I got out here. But I played for, I want to say 4 to 5 weeks on 120 ping just from the US, you know. But like
I remember when you were doing
I had
that.
to do what had to be done, you know. It's okay. It's okay. But I enjoy playing out here. I really enjoy playing in Europe. Like I've obviously been able to do it like over the years for like boot camps or tournaments, but you know, to be here for an extended period of time, like it's nice. You know, the practice is nice, and I like London. Honestly, I enjoy it.
JW, have you scrimmed Envy at all?
Actually, no. I haven't. I don't know why we haven't actually, but I haven't seen them search.
Probably
or
just
my
had
coach
better
mention
teams to
it.
play. You know, probably didn't want to waste your
I
time.
don't know.
I wanted
honest.
to wait a little bit for the spies, but
All
yeah,
right, there we
that,
go.
that might be true. That might be true.
Just the other day here, so I made the prac.com account, and my email's just been blowing up. So I think everyone contacts us.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if Kuben ever posts for scrims. I don't know.
So how has the practice been going? You confident heading into Flashpoint, Nifty? Because you know we haven't seen much of you.
Yeah, I know. We're definitely just we're hanging back right now, huh? You guys haven't been seeing anything at all, but no, like I'm really excited. I think that our practice has been improving week by week. You know, of course, like we go through these like weird little bumps, and then you have crap days, and you know, then you have like Steam servers going down and stuff like that. It's not fun, but no, man, like I think we'll play really well at Flashpoint. I'm excited.
I have a quick question for you, actually, Nifty.
So-
I can't. Oh, here we go. I found it. There was a tweet by the owner of your organization, Hastro. You might be familiar with him. He's a guy from Call of Duty for some reason. you know.
He's known to get loose on Twitter.
Yeah. Well,
He gets feisty. You love it.
Yeah.
Here's what he tweeted. He said, "We have reserved a larger budget than the last 3 years for our CSGO team in 2021. Have a lot of faith that our current roster is going to do well. We are willing to improve and provide resources in CSGO." Now, listen, he phrased that like very professionally. But
Yeah.
like you can read between the lines. That's a lot of pressure, dude. Like if people thought, which people might have cynically thought this year, oh, well, the reason why the Envy lineup like hasn't made big sign-ins or they waited a long time, they weren't playing, is because, you know, they're just chilling because no one knows what's going on in the current world situation. Maybe they don't want to make a big splash. Maybe you can't get players to America. There's a bunch of reasons. But like that tweet basically implies, by the way, mate, like you better start cooking at Flashpoint 2, otherwise there might be different players next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, like this is our only tournament, you know, with this roster that we've played this whole year. You know, we've just been practicing all the rest of the time. So, yeah, I mean, like from an outside perspective, you can look at it like there's a lot of pressure on it. You know, we said, I remember like I released a video when this roster first kind of came together on Twitter, just saying that like that we will have a like an actual like nice budget for 2021, but that it's different, you know, because it's like you can have a lot of money to be able to like buy players or improve your roster, but at the same time you also have to have like those players that like they have to also want to come here too.
Yes.
You know, they have to also want to play on your team. So, you know, there's a give and a take, but yeah, I mean, like you can look at it like there may be pressure for us. Like here's the thing, like we want to perform well. You know, we know that we have to. But you know, Hastro, as much as he knows that he can stay in Counter-Strike, he can leave Counter-Strike, he can improve his team, or he can just let it be. He wants the best for us too. And he's never said anything but nice stuff to us and push us and encourage us and really help us be our best at all costs. So, I'm appreciative for everything that he's done, and I hope that we can continue to really kind of grow from this point, because like the last 2 years, have been like very, very bumpy, but at the same time, like they never really had too big of a budget for CS, so we were kind of just working with like North American, I want to say just like scraps, like I don't know, we're just kind of throwing players around, and I really felt like I did the best that I could, just kind of getting the players that we could afford. So as you can imagine, like the last 2 years was a really like stressful time for me. But I learned a lot like through that period. And I've said even to my teammates now, different people that I talk to on the regular, that I believe that this is the best iteration of our roster so far over the last 2 years. So I'm very excited for us to show up to Flashpoint and play.
Sure. I will say, by the way, because people will take that as like they know that I'm not a big fan of Envy the last few years. I will say, actually, I think this particular lineup is like low key. Like, I think actually that Thomas could be like pretty legit. I already thought Calix is good. He just has to have the right team around him. And me, who basically, like, unfortunately, people only remember because he was in the Virtus Pro that just died immediately. Like, he was actually good. Like, he was one of the good parts of that team. It's the rest of the team that went to shit. So I think it's low key, not as bad.
Strong player. Yeah, super strong.
There's potential there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, JW, somebody's curious about up-and-coming Swedish players, if you have any thoughts on the Swedish scene and if there are any kind of rising stars. And I think we can chain that into a question about maybe some of Dignitas's pickups recently and your thoughts on them, because they went after more, let's say, emerging players. How can I phrase that diplomatically?
I mean, there's also Gen G getting the Creed guys, so there's a few we can talk about. So
he's a stand-in, but yes.
Yeah, I think, there's not super much, I think, happening in the Swedish scene. Maybe it's part of my fault as well for recycling the same kind of players throughout the years.
I personally blame you.
Yeah, you should probably. But I think the Heap pickup that Dignitas did, I think that's a decent pickup. I think he could develop and become better. And I'm not sure like at what level he's at right now, but I certainly think it's a great team for him to start with. But for the other Dignitas players, I don't know how much they're actually gonna. I mean, they're gonna try, but I'm sure these are not the players that they wanted to begin with. Obviously, they couldn't cash out somebody else, or as Nifty mentioned before, you have to have players actually wanting to join you as well, right? But Dignitas doing that is a good start for the Swedish scene. Other than that, I think there's a few interesting here and there. I think Krees, as you mentioned, who's standing in for Gen G, he was standing for us at one event before, and he's a really good player. I don't know why he didn't get more offers or whatever after he standing in for us.
What style of player is he, by the way? Like, I've never seen him play at all.
He, when he's playing FPL, he's a pretty crazy player. He can do like anything basically. But when we played with him in a team, he was a very good and calm player. He communicated very well, and he could just fill in. So it's hard for me to know. I think he's a player that has to start like at the Gen G level and fill in. But eventually, I think the right spot for him is where a team can play more around him. But he has to start out somewhere, and that's going to be as a filler role, I think. So I think Kreas and Heap is the biggest two mentions that I can do right now, and they kind of got a chance now. So hopefully the Swedish scene start cooking some more players eventually.
Sure. Even though I flame them, because obviously like, I don't want big name teams picking up people I've never heard of, especially if I know it's like his last minute. And it's one thing if you know it's like when you got Brolan, like, yeah, obviously it's worth taking the gamble on that. There could be the next player. But here's the thing. That's when I'm looking, because I'm just looking top down at the tournament. If I'm those players, this tournament's insanely exciting. Like, they're a million miles from playing in a major, and they're going to play in a tournament where, first of all, you could get a lot of attention around yourself if you do well. And secondly, you could get paid. You could get some serious prize money if you do a run through this one. So I actually think on the player side of it, for the young players, like, I hope they're all super motivated and just go like, this is life or death.
Yeah, definitely. I think so as well. Especially, I think Heap. I think he went from like, I don't know, not even a top 5 or top 6 Swedish team into Dignitas. I'm not sure where they are ranked right now, but at least they have some world-class players in forZe and Freiburg, maybe Halserk to some extent as well. So I hope and I think that he's gonna really take care of that shot, because I know from the past that Swedish players are usually very, very spoiled, and yeah, you don't get a chance like this too often. So I hope he's gonna take care of it, and I think he will.
Have you been practicing against Dignitas at all, Nifty?
We played him once or twice. Yeah, it's a. I'm not really sure what to expect from them, like tournament wise. Just haven't played them enough, but I mean they're good practice at least. I swear most teams in Europe are good practice.
I imagine, especially, I mean, when you guys, during the pandemic, a lot of the teams went over to Europe, right? And then with Valorant coming out, there were even fewer practice partners in North America, and you were scrimming on 120 ping on Europe anyway. I imagine it wasn't great for you, especially for most of this year.
Yeah, I mean, like, not to, like, honestly, like, there's a lot of players that it would bother a lot. You know, like, even if their FPS drops like 10, you know, like, they'll lose their mind, you know, but like, I'm a more tolerable person in general. So I think I was like kind of the perfect personality just to have to be in that situation and deal with it. I never really complained about it too much. I mean, I obviously understood where it affected like different parts of my game. You know, but I'm a big person about like trusting the process. And I know that like, okay, when I get to Europe, you know I'll be able to make these frags, have great performances in practice and feel good. By the way, you know, I don't want to take credit or anything, but I never talked about it. But I think like 6 months ago when all this COVID stuff was going down, I had told Hastra, I was like, yo, we got to go to Europe, bro.
I mean, it was pretty obvious at the time.
We got to go to Europe because it's all going to come down in NA, man. It's all going to come down. I swear. I know it, you know, and it's just like, we got to find a way, get me out there. You know, maybe we might even have to look at 2021 plans,
Sure.
you know, for Europe. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, when I saw, because the whole time I was talking about this and thinking about it, like, I hadn't heard anything, seen nothing on HLTV or heard anything from anybody that like EG or Liquid or Fury or anybody were planning on going, you know, at least as like early as I was considering it. So I was like, damn, I don't know what these teams are going to do, but I feel like to get a whole team out there can be difficult, you know, but just to get like one person out there on an international team might not be so bad. But
I've got a little.
I'm happy I'm here.
Well, you know, it's harder too when there have been two plagues scouring North America. Of course, the coronavirus, but also Valorant, and you know, Europe was free, mostly free from both of them comparatively.
Yeah. As soon as Valorant came out, it was donezo, man, in North America.
I'll just do a little rant. Let's pretend this is like fucking Blast, and I take the camera like, right, tap Thorin segment now or whatever. It's only going to be quick though. It goes like this. Right. So if anyone goes like, oh, I've had all bad practice and not teams. Oh, good. I'm glad I was able, without having to do big tournaments, to weed out the mentally weak people. Get the fuck out the scene. We don't need you. Don't care. Try a fucking river somewhere else. You're getting paid mega bucks, but you couldn't find a way to practice for purpose against someone who's worse. Do you know how some of the greatest tennis players of all time got good? They hit a ball against a fucking wall. The wall doesn't even move or do shots, mate. It just returns the ball. The idea is you work on your own shit, don't you? If you haven't got a good opponent. So I'll tell everyone a really quick story. You might know a player called Adren. Not the dog shit one from Source that no one cares about, the Team Liquid coach. The good one from Kazakhstan, the one who won a fucking major, who's a legend in 1.6, right? This guy, you all know him now when he won a major in 2017, and you know that in 1.6 he was good. But what you don't know is way back in time when he was super young in CS 1.6, when they had that one weird year in 2005 when the World Cyber Games was bizarrely just held in Source for no reason instead of 1.6. His team got to the final of the tournament, right? And at the time, literally nobody in all of Counter-Strike, except maybe the people in the Russian scene, had ever even knew that there was players in... Where in is Kazakhstan? Like, we didn't know anything about this topic, right? And when they got to the final, they played Team 3D with like Rambo and fucking like legendary players, Volcano, all these guys that you know, right? And those guys said to these guys, who the fuck are you guys? Like, how did you get to the final? And they said, oh, where we practice at home, our internet is so bad, like the routing within Kazakhstan at the time or whatever, that we can barely practice anyone who's known. And so what we do is we practice in a LAN center 2 versus 3 on LAN. And that's how we practiced and we got good. So you know what? If anyone out there's like, I can only play the 11th best NA team, suck it up, buttercup, or get the fuck out. And by the way, that's why this Flashpoint project will be like nothing you've ever seen from ESL. This is an official broadcast. We're on the fucking Twitch channel. And nobody's coming and going, tap, tap. I already can't say that. They're like, say more shit about them.
Exactly. Talk more shit. That's how it goes.
Actually, like,
also,
I
your story
actually
contained
agree.
the first Counter-Strike player ever to betray Counter-Strike and go to Valorant, which was Volcano, right? So it's all coming around.
There you go.
I actually agree with your point, Thorin. I actually think that your analogy applies mostly to individuals, though, because I think it's easier for an individual to look at, okay, what's the best way that I can practice under these conditions?
Okay.
But to actually get a whole team to buy into a practice outside of going against opponents and good opponents is so difficult, man. It's
Yeah, sure.
Well, you told me
It's
the
so
same
different.
story many
I
times
mean-
about the Korean team that would just practice executes at an empty server, right? Because they had no opponents.
Yeah, same thing.
Do you know they have to be all on the same
Yes.
page? They all have to have the same goals. No,
they're Korean, so yes, that's generally speaking
individual
true.
agendas. Nothing, man.
Yeah.
I remember those guys. I think it was Solo and those guys. They
Yeah,
had like
it was.
6 strats. Like always, I used to watch those in 1.6. Like you watch one certain player and all that, and then you make the whole team do it. They had 6 strats. Insane, really.
We did talk to Golden a little bit about this recently, but the question's coming up again for you, JW. Since we've been online for a long time in CS:GO right now, how have you been adjusting your play style compared to your successful LAN runs that you had previously?
We're trying to adjust more to the online style by being able to rely a little bit more on individual skill, I think, which is also why I think we are getting more inconsistent. Because when we play these LAN tournaments, we can rely so much on our experience. Me, Crims, and Flasha have tons of experience in the baggage. And when you come to online, it just goes out the window. It doesn't matter anymore because these guys at home, they're gonna play their own game no matter what. There's no crowd, there's nobody cheering or nobody screaming. Like you can't do any fakes that you usually do, and you can't just wait somebody to be nervous and do a mistake. Online, few players make mistakes, or if they do mistakes, it's like some sort of plan they had. It's so hard to play online, I think, for that reason, and it hurts us a bit more, I think, because we rely so much on experience. So yeah, I think we try to play a bit more individually, but obviously we lack a little bit there as well.
If people don't know, there used to be, because we've had so many years where LAN Counter-Strike was just where pro Counter-Strike was played, a famous thing that people used to say in NA is if someone was only good online and then on LAN they weren't good, you used to say like, oh, you must have a really comfortable chair. That was the joke, right? We'll put it this way. The player is now literally in that chair at home. That is literally the chair. And by the way, Xantares' chair must be like the fucking ones out of the Matrix where it like goes in the back of his head. Like, he just becomes the fucking god, does he? So, like, what do you want? They're going to be the most comfortable possible, aren't they? Like, the whole thing that JW and his players have an edge on LAN is when they do all those crazy moves, but it's like a LAN stage and the other team's like just like the fucking 7th best team or something like that can throw them off. Like, if they're just at home, they just play like it's a scrim, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. There's no pressure at home either, and I think also some things you notice online now is that people hear every single step, every single detail in the game. Like even when you do these crouch jumps or whatever that are supposed to do no sounds, they do like a little sound that you can hear online, but you can't hear a thing on LAN when you do that. So there's a lot of stuff like that as well. Like online, people hear everything, they're ready for everything. It makes it so much harder.
Man, that's so true.
Yeah, it is.
The sound is a real
Yeah,
thing.
it's
That's why
like
you can't really watch
there's no
demos
control.
from LAN and like translate that to any online play either, because you got players just running through like A apps on Inferno. Short guy doesn't hear them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like crazy.
Question for you, Thorin. Apparently, I'm not familiar with this, but you did a recent video about different types of upper bracket advantages for the grand final of a double elimination playoffs. Will Flashpoint implement any sort of thing this season? Well, not this season, but I am curious about your thoughts now.
No, we won't. Like, basically, we just do we do the same as the international, which is once you get to the final, there's just no advantages and you just play a match. Because, like, if you want, like, the best viewership angle for the match, that is the best way because you just start default. And then if the teams from the lower bracket's better, it's just even and they can win, right? So, in the isolation, if you want the match to be better, being as this is our first year, we're trying to establish the product as an entertainment product. I mean, we don't have the best teams for start off, but we got better ones this time. But basically, what I made the point of in that video is the way that I think people are getting really confused about this whole topic of what advantage should the upper bracket get is they overly focus on what I just said, which is like, but then it's not as fair in the final. It's like, yeah, because it's not fair because you lost a match. Like if you don't want to be the guy with the disadvantage, don't lose a match. Be the guy coming from the upper bracket. Like, so one thing I have a problem with is I'm a purist. Like if it was really up to me and I didn't have to ever think about viewership, I would just do the real double elim with a bracket reset. And if you come from the low bracket, yeah, again, you lost. Like you have to beat me twice. That's the way it works. The whole point of the tournament is you have 2 tournament lives. So the point of the video sort of is I lay out all the possible options and I try to grade them like that. Like if you just want like the pure and the most fair angle, it's actually the most extreme one, which is like you have to beat me twice. If you want like to do a compromise, you can give them a map or a veto. My point I make basically is you're deciding, and unfortunately, there's never going to be a pure overlap. How much is it entertainment or how much is it like a pure format? And so it depends what your tournament is and what the considerations are. Obviously, we're not at the point yet, like the old school where no one was really watching back in the day. So you could do whatever you wanted, couldn't you? It was about the player playing the tournament at the time.
So I have very strong feelings about this. So first off, I want to say that in an 8-team double elim.
That was hilarious. You lagged a second.
Sorry.
You actually lagged exactly when he said, I just want to say that. And then you did this. And then you just said, all right, just how much to say that. God, say it again.
So I have very strong feelings about this. And it's important to note that people say, well, what is the advantage for the team that coming in through the upper bracket? Well, if you get eliminated or put into the loser's bracket in the first round of a double elimination 8-team tournament, you have to play 3 additional best of whatever, best of 3, best of 5, in this case, best of 3 in our tournament, matches in order to make the finals. So the advantage to being in the upper bracket is playing way fewer matches in the first place, right? And whoever says like, oh, well, those matches are better practice, you're a fucking idiot. No one would willingly be in the loser's bracket. And here's the reason you know. Why don't teams lose intentionally if they think that better practice exists by having more matches in the loser's bracket? No one's ever fucking done that. So clearly nobody believes it. But there is that advantage, just playing fewer matches, having to prepare less, fewer chances to be eliminated, less tape for your opponent to view. All of these exist. The other reason why we can't do a bracket reset is because, now, I will admit, Thorin, had I thought about this, we might have done a bracket reset this time because we
actually have the schedule where we could do it, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and also we're online, so it doesn't matter because we can theoretically just have an additional day, a bonus day, if we need it, to do the second match. The reason why we don't do that typically when we're in LAN is because we're not at the point in terms of esports where I can rent a stadium for like 2 days, but maybe 3 days, right? Like, I wish I had that money. I wish I could be the NBA and just have a stadium where I could play 4 games or 7 games in a playoff, depending on how it went, right? So I think that in a world where esports gets big enough where we can have the money to have kind of days that may or may not exist in a stadium environment, then maybe we could visit that. But we're talking like 5-10 years in the future at least. Because I do agree that is with you, Thorin, that's the most fair way to do it. But logistically, it's bad. And the second best version is just simply not giving an advantage, because giving people like a map advantage is just lame. It's just lame. Like, you play a best of 5 and then people, they tie 2-2 and then somebody wins. It feels really bad when you do it that way. It's very anti-hype, in my opinion. What are your guys' thoughts on finals in this?
Yeah, I agree with you that I think one map advantage is pretty boring, and I think it's also like for new viewers tuning in, it's like hard to understand like why and all of that. And I also think if you manage to go through the upper bracket, you usually get more off days, which means you get more free practice that nobody can watch, and I mean that for me is a big advantage as well. So getting a map or stuff like that is also, I don't know. But I think in a perfect world, I think, as Thorin said, I think getting to play like 2 best of 3s or whatever, and having to beat somebody twice. I think that is the perfect way to do it, but I also understand the problems with it.
I'm a psychopath, so like I like having a best of 5 of best of 3s, so that if I had a final, then we could have a days off in between to prep and like see that series.
Actually, go on, finish your point.
We've actually experimented with this because in Overwatch League Season 1, we did best of 3s of best of 7s, and it was actually super sick because we didn't know how long the matches were going to be necessarily or how many days they were going to be, but we had it scheduled because we had the studio in Los Angeles. And so we were able to like take a day off, see the strategies that teams have developed after playing each other once, and then they could, might have to do it again. So that was pretty fun, actually. It was a cool experiment.
Like basically one other point that I made in this video was kind of like that, which is that when we're at the level like the NHL, the NBA, where we can actually start to do, because this is what no one does. Everyone in esports, sadly, doesn't study like, here's what the formats are and here's what they are in isolation. They just experience them. And so what they do is they think that's all that's possible. And so they're trapped in like the defined limits of the maze that they're in. So what they never think about is like when people complain about best of 5, for example, you notice all their assumptions are you have to play it on that day. I mean, I'll give you an example right now. If I actually was like NHL where I can decide the schedule, I would make my best of 5 final like this. After 2 maps, we go to tomorrow. So either one team's up 2-0, will they complete the series, or one team could come back. Like you could do it that way. So as you're saying, you could do like a bunch of best of 5. You could do a best of 3 of whatever way around it. Best of 3 or best of 3 is probably actually the best overall, if I had to guess, And then the idea was, but you'd space it out with a day between, and then you'd have almost the Korean factor that we enjoyed from Korean esports, where it's how the team adapted between. What did they do on the off day? How did they look at the demos from the last match? It means that if you ever got, by the way, to a match where it went to the 3rd one, and obviously the storylines you could build up around it could be insane, and the features, like you could imagine if anyone ever got to the decided map of that 3rd series, it'd be the most epic match in like the history of Counter-Strike. Like there had never been a match where people had put more time and attention into beating one opponent.
Yeah,
that's obviously for the future.
I think that would be really sick, actually. And
as a one-off, obviously, not like every tournament. I'm just like a big one.
I mean,
yes, of course, yes.
I mean, as it is right now, we're kind of doing that anyways. We're playing 100 maps.
Does feel like it's Dude, did you hear that thing he said earlier? We just let it go because it's like this.
It's 2,000 games.
forZe have played 2,050 maps this year, JW. Like, can someone break them out of the prison camp? What the fuck is that? I'd rather be breaking rocks in Siberia. That is in. And by the way, when he says 2,050, those aren't all matches you want to play against big and fucking. Dude, he's playing those ones against people you've never even heard of, and he has
Hold on, I'm gonna do the math on this real quick.
Mentally reset. I'm gonna play another game. That sounds like torture, man. That's like hell on earth.
Jerry's
By the way,
like one bad moment away from breaking down.
No, give me a break.
It's only November, but if they had played 2,050 maps across all 365 days, it would have been 5.6 maps per day, that's pretty
with
intense.
No off days. No, that's so unreasonable.
Don't forget the practice included.
Yeah, exactly. I to be fair, he might have included the practice in that. I'm not sure if he played that many like competitive maps, but yeah. All right. So what are your thoughts to Nifty as we start to wrap this up on the double elimination question?
I mean, JW said it, man. But I'll tell you one thing. I like the idea of having like a best of 3, a best of 3s.
Yeah, it would be sick. It's just because we can't not know how many days we're renting an arena.
Yeah.
A funny thing about the Overwatch League is that the way it was scheduled for this arena problem, right, is that even the grand finals were a best of 3 of best of 7s. So we had the stadium for 2 days. So the first day we played the first best of 7, and I was casting on the second day. But the crazy thing was, if London Spitfire hadn't won that final in the first best of 7, we could have played a best of 7 immediately after that same day. So we would have played up to 14, and there could be ties in Overwatch, so maybe 15, 16 maps all in one sitting, which would have taken like 7 hours. So
the real irony, of course.
That's awful.
It's the real irony, of course, Monty. They had the solution lying there the whole time, but they never thought it through. What they should have done is, if Spitfire hadn't won the match, obviously you bring out DJ Khaled and he goes, "Y'all want another one?" And then you just play the whole match in a match again. So,
we already had it built in. We had it built in.
Exactly. By the way, the reason why I'm actually interested though is because if people don't know, Nifty comes from COD, and in COD it was all like double limb shit, right? That was like tons of
in COD, it's a grind. I mean, teams, some of the lower bracket runs that teams make in COD are insane. I mean, back in the day, you know, you show up to a LAN, you have all these, you know, like stations, like 50 stations, you know, just teams battling out in open bracket, you know, and you know, you might be in a lower bracket run for 12 hours. You just might be.
forZe players are like, what right day was that? Fucking hell.
All right.
In COD, you always get enough of COD.
All right, so we do have one last question to ask you because we do have to get a little bit of banter here, which is if you guys could pick one team, and you will be picking tomorrow night, in fact, teams to be in your group. If you could pick one team to be in your group for Flashpoint 2, who would it be and why? JW, why don't you start?
Oh, yeah, actually, I think I don't remember who plays for Envy anymore lately, though, but I think Legia is the name over there.
He's in there, yeah.
And yeah, I think
Yes.
we had some unfinished business. He unfinished. I mean, he tried to smash me on Twitter, but he got smashed back. I think it's time to smash him on the server. So I think Envy.
Well, you'll probably have a chance to pick them considering you're going to be a very high seed, so I look forward to that tomorrow.
Hopefully.
All right, Nifty, who do you want to play for, you know, as Envy? Who would you guys like to pick into your group?
All right, well, I'll leave you to it, JW. But you know, do your thing, man. But nah, I think we've had some really fun practices against Big, and I know that might seem like crazy. Like Team Envy unranked, you know, not playing any officials, and Big is ranked like 6th in the world right now. But we've had some really fun practices against Big, and I understand the whole difference, you know, between how teams might play in officials. But I just think, especially in terms of personalities and Legia having a history with Big, it could be really fun to have Big in our group. Who knows, man? But I mean, I'm excited to play whoever, honestly. But I'll throw Big out there just because I think it'd be fun.
I think Calyx and Santaris has some history as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It would be a tight match. You're right. I forgot to mention that. But oh, dude, when it comes down to the Battle of the Turks, Calyx gets engaged. I mean, he turns like God mode switch. It's actually kind of crazy, but
Sounds fun. Well, we'll look forward to that. We'll do our group selection tomorrow, and then we will be announcing our groups a little bit later this week and getting our schedule out to all of you guys. Thank you for being patient for Gen G, who is taking forever to announce their roster, which was why we haven't done this already. So
It was all worth it in the end, though, wasn't it? You know, the satisfaction with knowing who they signed, just fucking, oh,
yeah,
well, great.
it was the worst edging of all time. But we will see. We will see you guys next week at Flashpoint 2. Thank you for coming on, and we'll be back with our next round of guests, which will be HenryG from Cloud9. Guess he didn't want to send any of his players. He's still.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. We're doing another segment, right?
We are, yeah.
Okay, just the way you said that made it sound like the stream was over, right?
Nope, we're doing another segment with HenryG, who is still hogging the spotlight, won't let his players actually get on the show. Can't help himself. And Snappi as well. So we'll be back in just a couple. We're back with our final segment here of our Flashpoint Q&A hype episode before the start of our new season next week. We are now joined by HenryG, who is lounging erotically. I've realized that your social media is basically just you as a boy band member now. I'm not sure where it's going, but I'm enjoying it. I'm secretly sexually enjoying it. I want you to know that. Well, I guess it's not a secret anymore.
Secret. Yeah, they make it well known, bro. I'm very happy. I put a lot of my fan base has definitely grown since I started posting those pictures, and I'm glad to know it's reached you as well. So that's good stuff.
And now I've got like the low angle, the wide angle lens. It's very nice.
Setup. No one's saying it's the best setup. I've just moved to
No,
Serbia.
I like it. It's artistic.
It's artistic, yeah. I've just moved to Serbia. I haven't really got a full-time setup yet, so this is very on the fly, and I'm not really using industry-level gear. But hopefully next time I come on, I'll be a bit more well prepared.
It's just the angle, because the problem is it looks like one of those tiny little spikes. Like in a minute, it looks like someo's going to walk in and go, "Mr. Greer, we'd like to do this bribe with you, sir." And you're like, "Oh, this is all above board, though. We never get caught with it."
It does, right? That's what you mean. It's like a suitcase camera.
Yeah.
On the desk. Yeah, it does look like that. All right, that's enough of that. Hi.
And here's Snappi. We can view him in profile, staring at his monitor. We don't get to see him straight on.
Still doesn't look a day over 16 years old. Rosy-cheeked, youthful, vital energy. That's how, he gets in, he connects with his players.
Yep. And wearing a hat under his headset inside. Does the brim block the glow of your monitor?
I didn't really want to put Vax in the head like 23 in the evening, so I figured a hat is going to do.
That's fair. That's fair. Nobody was going to judge you. We can't even see it because of the lighting anyway, but that's fine. So we are going to be heading into Flashpoint. We'll get some questions first off. But Henry, you weren't part of Flashpoint last time. You broke off. You were part of ESL. Now you're forced to be here. So what are you excited for in your first Flashpoint? You made the choice conscientiously not to join us for Flashpoint 1, but now you have been forced.
That's true. That is true. I haven't been forced. I'm very happy to be involved in Flashpoint. I'll say
for enough money, anybody's happy to be in
exactly.
Flashpoint.
When there's enough money on the line, I'm very happy to do whatever you want.
See, that's how we're operating right now. We have $1 million. Now everybody's happy to be in Flashpoint. ESL's chop their prize pools down to like 30K. So here we are, rolling into 7 figures.
I feel like it's actually looking pretty good. Like, I won't lie to you that the first season, the biggest concerns was the quality of the teams, I suppose. That's just
it's still a
being
concern.
Pretty honest. It's not the biggest concern though. It's still a concern. But yeah, it feels like the kind of pack now is kind of much stronger. Got some big names coming in there as well, like Fnatic and OG joining. Hopefully, we'll be in that conversation as well. The prize money's awesome, and the fact that you guys are actually letting talent off the leash, hopefully encouraging the banter and stuff like that, bringing back some of the old school flavors. That's what I'm looking for, really. And hopefully, when we do get to go on LAN next season, I'm hoping that I can really bring that kind of WWE vibe, the kind of GM role into fruition properly. But for now, I'll have to be on the sidelines. Just
we do have limits, though. I know you're familiar with Saticus. We're not quite at Saticus stream level yet.
Right. Okay.
We're probably not gonna go that far, I have to say.
The thing is, when he says that like obviously from the GM role he can get in the banter. Well, you have to remember Henry was one of the guys who loved all that stuff with Sponge, the caches, doing all the skits and pretend like the thing he had away at Mark Hunt where they were pretending they were fighting or whatever,
Yeah.
So I envision Henry in the future is going to be like a Vince McMahon figure where it's like, what's that noise? Henry's music. And then he comes out, you're fired. Get out with the,
I want to do that stuff and just bring that. When I used to play, right, like way back in the day, all our games used to be like when it was 5-on-5 and you'd sit on rows of PCs right opposite each other, right? And it would all be about shouting each other, getting each other's head. We had that a bit of CSGO at the very start, like 2012, 2013. But obviously we've gone to big stages and stuff, and for right reasons, we don't sit across each other anymore. But I think it's part of the game that's really missing right now. We're seeing glimpses of it sometimes with Twitter and stuff like that. But I want to bring back friendly banter and make sure there's like a competitive side to that sort of the game as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun, I think. That's going to be awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna kick this off a little bit with a question for you, Snappi, because it's been rather quiet. So talk about your starting roster right now, because you guys made some more changes recently. I think the last time we talked to you, Smooya was still on the team, if I believe properly. So
yeah,
what's going on? Why'd you guys make the changes you did, and how's the practice been going?
It's been a bit up and down, to be honest. It's We never really, we had 2 guys on trial because we weren't certain. Spinks was really good, and we want to keep going with him. Smooya was actually also really good. He's a skilled player. He's a super good guy, but he wanted to be the main AWPer, and it basically couldn't work because we can't have 2 AWPers, right? So we ended up picking up Rigon, which was standing in for us while Lisby was out for like a couple of weeks, and he did really good. And we felt like he's basically like a guy who needs to, if we push him in the right direction, he will become a great asset because he has insane skill. Obviously, he's still new. It's his first like pro team, I guess. He's been on Secret for a short while, but that was just like 5 FPL talents. So I think when we get him like drilled in, he's gonna be amazing in the future. So we haven't had a lot of practice time with those guys. It's been, to be honest, very turbulent regarding the lineup, but we figured it's better to prepare for the future so we are good for the next 6 months than just like for 1 or 2 months. So that's why we made the changes.
When you say that, by the way, like about the role angle, because if people don't know, obviously, like Otto in your team is one of those like really old school AWPers who just only ever he has the AWP every round possible. Like, was it really in that scenario when Smoothie was trialing? Was it never on the table that like Smoothie could have taken his spot or something? Was it always that you were going to keep that team and he basically had to just be like a hybrid player or something?
Yeah, it was basically put out to Owen that he was going to be the secondary AWPer, and he would have to accept that. And he could for like. He basically told me straight up, I can accept that for the next 6 months, but I am an AWPer and I want to AWPer again. And I was like, yeah, but this project is hopefully not only a 6-month project, so we felt like we have to change him at that point.
Obviously, you were like, look, Smooth, you think more longer term. He goes, yeah, 6 whole months in one team. I mean, I'm willing to invest here, boys.
It's a lifetime.
Dead now, of course. You know. R.I.P. Smoothie. Maybe next season. See if anyone needs standings.
I'm just sad because I think Smoothie is fucking hilarious. So
yeah, he's entertaining. He would definitely have had my spot on the shows because he's entertaining as fuck.
Yeah, he and Bubsky are both made for Flashpoint. It is tragic that neither of them will be participating in it or any other Counter-Strike play professionally for the foreseeable future.
I feel like somewhere out there, they're looking down on us, watching the matches, you know, remembering the good times when they used to play.
Henry, you're enjoying this. Come on.
It's nice being your old boss.
I am. I am. It's a bit spicier than the last guest you had on. You were talking about brackets and resets and stuff like that. So, God, is this the tone we're going with? And then this is what I've entered. So a bit different, but I'm much happier with this dialogue than what you had before, to be honest. So yeah, let's have more of this. Let's keep going.
Henry, I understand that you guys have been boot camping in Serbia. I also understand that Monsieur Alex had to go home to France because they were locking down again. You didn't get as much practice as you wanted. You caused me great emotional distress because I thought you were staying in Serbia in order to play from Serbia together. But your plan was always to have the boot camp and then go home for Flashpoint?
It wasn't always the plan. It wasn't always the plan. This is obviously a lot of moving parts here, and as the global situation, I'm sure you're aware of it. As things move there, and we're in a country where we thought we were safe, it was looking like Serbia wasn't going to be as under control as we hoped before. It was a bit of a grey area. They imposed lockdown to like bars and stuff and restaurants to 11 p.m., which wasn't the case when we first arrived. So I just didn't want to get to the point where the players were stuck here. Like, we just thought 1 week would be enough. It's safe. Nothing crazy is going to happen in 1 week. But to answer your question, yeah, we played in Belgrade for a week. Alex did have to go home, but the idea behind the boot camp was to mainly just for everyone to meet each other, build some synergy, like some actual face-to-face time as well. I think all of us could use that in these kind of trying times, to be honest with you. I hadn't actually seen a human being for 2 months. I'd been in Malta alone while Chad and Alex were away working. So I was in Malta alone. I hadn't had any human interaction for 2 months. So for me, it was like, yeah, let's definitely get a fucking boot camp going. And it was really good. We managed to get, I don't know, like maybe 4 maps locked down, and you just know that everyone's kind of in the room listening. You can see their reaction. They're kind of them practicing. And it was very beneficial. There's definitely a lot of value in meeting up and going over the practice properly. And we've continued the exact same schedule over to now. So we're still kind of in boot camp mode. We're playing like 6 or 7 maps a day, 2 hours of theory, and making sure that everything's kind of under lock and key in that regard. But yeah, it was a shame. And obviously there's always going to be compromises with COVID and stuff. And we're just kind of jumping through the hoops and hoping we can get through the other side, as I'm sure you guys are as well. When you're organizing this event, this is not exactly how you wanted it to go down, and we're all just trying to make sure that it all works out and everyone's where they need to be.
Thorin and I had made great personal sacrifices of sitting in these apartments for the last 2 weeks. But I'm done tomorrow, so I get to go, get this, to the hotel, the venue, where then I can't go outside of there for a month. So it's a really big change. Are
you in London right now still?
I'm in Reading.
Reading, that's my home city, dude. Well, hometown. That's where I was born. So yeah, that's nice. A lovely part of the world.
I wouldn't know because I can't go outside. But anyway.
Don't go outside. It's not a good place.
But yeah, we're heading over to Twickenham soon. I'm going tomorrow. Yeah. And then we'll be at the hotel there, insulated from the world as well. So
the bubble. Okay.
Yeah, the bubble. So we're committing to 6 weeks of being hermetically sealed in these environments for Flashpoint. So I hope people appreciate it.
I definitely appreciate it, guys. Good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really was looking for your gratitude. I was fishing for it. Have you had a chance to practice Cloud9 there, Snappi?
I don't think we have actually,
I think so.
and I don't think we would either, because it would kind of show our hand. We practiced OG a bit, but apart from that, I think we try to stay away from the Flashpoint teams in general, because for us it's the most important tournament coming up. So yeah, we generally don't want to play the 11 teams that we can face.
Have you been playing any of the other Flashpoint teams, Henry?
No, same sentiments really. Unless we absolutely have to, we plan all our practice like weeks in advance. Like there's it's much like I didn't realize how like good the kind of setup was these days and the infrastructure. We have this website where you can kind of just plan all the practice games out. You book them in weeks in advance. So you book like 6 games, and you can just like plug and play with the teams that want a game and when you have availability, and you just drop in the teams you want. So you can avoid that pretty easily these days. It's not like we're running around trying to find practice in IRC channels or anything like that. You just say we want to play this time.
That was part of the charm of esports, though. Is that
it was definitely. I was getting ready for the guys. Where do you need me on IRC? I'll sort out the games. Where do I need to go? No, but it's super easy. So yeah, it's not really a big deal in terms of looking for practice. There's so many teams, and you have to bear in mind, people don't realize that how high the kind of the skill goes now in CSGO. It's not like 5 years ago, there's only a handful of like 20 really good teams. You go down the top 60, there's really capable teams that have very interesting approaches, very high skill players as well. So honestly, practice is thriving still. A lot of teams playing right now, and we're always in good stead for games. So yeah, no problems at all. But no Flashpoint teams for the same reasons. I think one of the best assets we have for us going forward is the unknown quantity. There's no demos for us available. No one's going to have any information on us whatsoever. And if they hear anything from their mates, trust me, we're evolving every single day. So you might want to take that advice a little bit tentatively.
I love you being the spokesperson of this team. This is fucking
someone
hilarious.
has to be right. Someone's going to step up and spice things up.
The hype is just too funny.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here to do. I've got to justify that paycheck.
I agree with Henry's principle, though. Like, as he says there, like, especially the fact that Cloud9 hasn't played like official tournaments before this is a massive edge to Cloud9, because like I said about MIBR's players, like, we don't know actually how good MIBR is yet, because no one had played them until those matches. So like, if I'm the other teams, that's a nightmare if I'm Astralis playing a team that's completely new players.
I think we would have had even more of an edge on LAN as well. Can you imagine like the kind of the lineup we have, and then bring it on LAN? And then I just feel like I've been saying to the build up of the tournament boys coming into this one, I was saying to them, like, they would play themselves. They would get into their own heads, not knowing what we do, have that mentality of got to play our own game, but what game are they going to bring to the table? If this is on LAN as well, and I could kind of stick a dagger in the back as well and start giving some banter and some red herrings and propaganda out there while match are playing, that's my dream. That's what I'm here for, is to get inside their heads, and I can't really do that online. But there'll be some tweets, there'll be some propaganda flying around, so don't worry, watch out for that.
Yeah, if people don't know, by the way, when we had Henry on first, when at the time I think it was actually only one player signed, or one or two maybe. I think it was Alex and Woxic most.
Yes.
It wasn't more than 2 though. Right? When they first did that show, he obviously made that bold statement, like, I'm going to win Flashpoint. But he's been saying that up until like days ago. So he hasn't backed down on it, guys. He's putting the pressure on himself. He has to win Flashpoint.
It's all my responsibility. I know these are bold words, and I take full responsibility if it backfires. I will add a caveat to that and saying that we won.
Where's it going? Come on.
Oh boy.
Come on.
When we did say that, when that was announced, I was under the impression that we were going to LAN, and we hadn't announced Fnatic, OG, Big.
True. Yes.
Do you know what
Fair.
I mean?
That's
those
fair.
teams are that, but the sentiment remains. We are going to win, and I hope we do so. The practice has gone amazingly well, and I have no excuses. It's enough time to win this tournament. We can do it.
That is actually a fair caveat, to be fair. I thought he was going to back out with it. Like, of course, if someone can play well. No, but to be fair, at the time, the best teams was like MIBR and Mad Lions. So, yeah, that's a fair statement.
So that's all I'm saying. I just want to put that out there, just so it's on the record. Anything else goes. That's fine.
All right. A question from one of the viewers to both of you. Have you guys practiced against forZe at all?
No, and I think it was pretty lucky we didn't, from what I saw on Twitter. But no, we haven't.
No,
we have all your demos.
Irony there is, if Henry had have practiced against forZe once, everyone would know all the shit they were doing. Obviously, you know, that point in time be over, wouldn't it? One game, one slip up. We could say no to forZe. Don't try it, not even once. forZe, not even once. There we go. That's the new meme.
Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't played them, and I for some reason sit on every single prac we play, boot camp or not. I'm there with the boys on TeamSpeak. So yeah, I would know no forZe games at all, and we just saw the news on Twitter the same way everyone else did. I was just like, for God's sake, why are these people doing this?
But to be fair, they aren't the only people that have
Oh,
had
there's
that.
it's some
Like,
shady customers who've tried
like
it.
I've
Yeah.
caught multiple. Like I could put them on 2 free hands teams
People are doing
having
that in
no TV on the
Toronto when I
server.
played.
So this is not like, and I think honestly, a lot of teams don't even know they have it.
Yeah,
Some
fair enough.
obviously do, but some of them is.
I mean, some
probably
people,
a mistake.
like, basically, if you didn't notice, the key thing you have to do that, like Yanko said he did, and obviously Peacemaker said, is you have to do that console command. Because if people don't know, like, if you're really naive, you go in and it's like, oh, that's our coach, and they just rename the bot to the name of the coach or something. There's all sorts of shady stuff they try.
But again, to be honest, it doesn't really matter too much anyway, because people are recording the games on Facebook and all kinds of shit anyway.
Oh, of
so
course, yes.
like people will have video material if they want, and you can't really stop it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the joke is, what they should have done is, if you add all these stories together, the bot, hiring that Zona guy, the 2,000 maps, obviously what happens is when Zona walked in, they just put him in a room with like 1 million screens, like the end of like Watchmen with fucking Ozymandias. And he just watches like 2,000 games from the year. And it's like the Matrix. He just goes, I know all things about Counter-Strike. And they just like, fucking zoned in, and there you go. Together, that's like the fucking Mega Mind, isn't it? Or like Starship Troopers or something.
All right, here's a question about talent. So Sjokz did tweet that she's a free agent now and wanted to do more CS:GO and didn't have a lot of opportunities due to the pandemic this year. So curious if we would look into her for future Flashpoint tournaments. And I think the answer to that is the same as you always give, Thorin, which is that we're looking for people who are committed to this for the long term. And her primary commitment is still LEC. I think Sjokz is wonderful, and I know Thorin does too, but we want to develop synergy as a unit of talent and have that dedication. So...
Put it this way, the best way you can answer it, because obviously we could be at the same time transparent and give the real answer, which is, if she wants, like I said with Yanko, if they want to join and they want to be here for a whole year, they want to sign up and do 2 events or potentially longer, and the idea is they don't just come in to do an event. It's not like the old days of being a mercenary that we all did. They're coming in to be part of the project, and then in the off season, we can do work with them, and they can figure out how they're going to put their brand into it. Yeah, that's awesome. Someone like Sjokz would be an obvious person you'd hire. But again, I personally think, I would guess, that her primary concern is League of Legends. I mean, that's literally her whole territory. And then she wants to do some work outside. But that sounds to me more like the freelance world. Like you want to go and do maybe DreamHack Masters or Blast or something. Yeah, those are just sounds to me like at the moment we're not in the same circles. You know, it's nothing to do with talent, obviously, one of the best.
Yekindar from Virtus Pro tells me to ask Snappi if he's coming for the Among Us lobby. So I guess you're late to the CS:GO Pro Among Us. Henry,
apparently.
Henry, we're gonna play some talent Among Us and record it for content. Do you want to play with us? During the content week, so it'd be between groups and playoffs after you guys are eliminated. So you have tons of time.
I am one of the great thespians. I am amazing at Among Us. It's one of my favorite games. If anyone who is maybe, I don't know, maybe watching who can commend me, but either way, yeah, I am very, very good at it. I take it very seriously. I like to do full RP when we're playing as well. So just want to make sure that.
Do you have to pretend you're in space?
I like to claim myself as the captain of the ship, and then I kind of delegate roles out. There's like the janitor, there's like the kind of canteen staff as well. I like to take full control of the situation. So yeah, I'm definitely down.
I've never played it, so
no, I haven't either. Like, and the problem I'm facing, I'm a little bit worried about this. Is I don't know if talent Among Us is going to be fun, because what would any of the talent in CS know about? Like, essentially getting together in one big group, all backstabbing each other and talking shit, lying about stuff constantly, and then eventually one of you just disappears mysterious, and we all go, "Oh, that's a shame." Like, I don't think they'd be able to handle it, you know, in many ways. So.
That's the reason I'm so good at it, Duncan. I've got a lot of experience.
There we go.
Yeah.
You got in the escape pod though and got off the ship.
I did, and I'm very grateful for it. God damn, the schedules that are out there right now. Oh, I feel bad for everyone grinding away at this point. I haven't seen my housemates, Chad and Alex, for the whole year. They've just been MIA every single day, in and out. So respect to them for continuing to provide daily entertainment, as the traveling circus did stop in its place, but it seems to continue in spirit. online. So good on him for keep going. I couldn't go back to that. It was too much for me at the start of the year. And I hope we get to rectify the issue of all these play days going forward, because it's getting a little bit silly.
It's all right. I'm working on it, Henry. Don't worry about it.
You are. I know you are.
I'm doing God's work here in this CS:GO scene. So, will the group stage picks be streamed or just posted online afterwards? We will not be streaming it tomorrow because we're going to do it over chat, like we did the selection for phase 2 last time. But we will be, I think, filming some content after we do it. And also, I think we are going to be filming the players while they're making the selections and having their comms as well. So we've requested that the teams, while they are there typing away at their selections and hopefully talking to their teammates, we're going to record their video and communication so we get some good stuff hopefully out of that without revealing strategies or anything. But that should be fun tomorrow. So look forward to that content. Maybe some edits from this show as well once we get into the first start of Flashpoint, because we've got some
people pick each other, etc.
Yeah, we've had some good banter tonight already, which is fun. And with that in mind, each of you guys now tell us, if you had to pick a team to be in your group with you at Flashpoint, who would be your pick? Dignitas. Why, Henry? Why Dignitas?
Flashpoint and I have a very special relationship.
Right.
You know, I've got I want to have a main rivalry with someone who's on my level, you know. I looked around the other teams, the other orgs, they haven't got a big kind of beacon like Fifi and I, kind of leading them all the way. So I feel like his team is weak enough for me to dumpster them with my boys, and then I can hammer into hell and back with the banter as well. He won't be able to keep up. So
also a classic rivalry from Source there.
Yeah, exactly.
One over him, you know.
Yeah,
he
takes to the grave the fact I never beat him on LAN.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so he definitely will be reminding me of that. I know he's saving his nukes for the actual tournament. He doesn't like to do things on Twitter.
Right.
So wait for that. I'm sure he's got a whole repertoire of insults to throw my way. So look out for that. Dignitas would be my number 1 pick.
GM rivalry. We'll put you, I'll tell you what, next time we do Flashpoint on LAN, we'll put you and Fiflaren in some sort of American Gladiators style duel that we can actually record. That would be really fun. Or like inflatable sumo suits. Can you do that for me?
I want it to be the one where they have those, like the pugilist thing,
the
you know, where they had to
Q-tips?
knock each other off. Because that was the best one. Because we had a British Gladiators, and there was this one guy, I think enough times past and won't get sued. He was on all the steroids in the world. You know what I'm talking about, Henry. And he was massive, this guy, and he was unbelievable at that one.
I remember the Wolf, the guy who was just mad.
I was reading a different one, but, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I can definitely get on board with that. Any physical activities with Flaren, I'm in. Sign me up.
No one could interpret that sentence incorrectly. Wow. Phrasing. All right, Snappi, with that in mind, that beautiful mental image that HenryG has so generously dropped into our imaginations. Snappi, who would you pick there for contact?
I would probably pick Envious because I would like to beat Thomas. And I also think they are one of the weaker teams. So probably Envious. The team you probably want to avoid. The team you probably want to avoid, though, I don't know if anyone said it, but I think VP is probably the strongest team in this tournament.
They look pretty good so far,
They do look good. Yeah.
I think, though, that is probably the team that you want to avoid.
Okay. I thought you would have said Mad Lions, mate. It's like, listen, mate, if y'all are out there and you need your Danish in-game leaders, who the fuck am I? Chopped liver? Like, where was my phone call? What, you getting a guy from Copenhagen Flames? How dare you just destroy him for that reason alone?
No. I
to be fair, it seems like in 3 months that he might have a shot at being on Mad Lions, given how fast they've been rotating through these IGLs, right?
Yeah,
no, it'll be too good.
They chopped it out pretty fast, to be fair.
Yeah, so the problem is you have to be above him before you want to join, wouldn't he, Monty? If they go down, then why would he even bother? You know?
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Won't take up any more of your time tonight. Hope you all had fun watching the latest deluxe edition of the Flashpoint Q&A. Just as a reminder, we are going to be back on Tuesday, November 10th, with our first matches. We'll be doing our group selection tomorrow. We'll be announcing our groups and schedule after that. Probably Friday, I would say we'll do those announcements, but we'll check in and see what our schedule is. We'll see you next week for actual real Flashpoint from a studio with 10 people who are talent for this event. So it should be really I think a dynamic broadcast. Of course, now you know everybody who's going to be there. Anders and Semler will be joining us from their Blast broadcast. And we've got everybody else. You can check them out on Twitter. So we will see you then. And thank you very much.